Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Pagan, and in today's lesson we're going to be solving absolute value inequalities. Alright, let's go ahead and look at some of the examples that we have to face. First one says, rewrite the absolute value inequality as a compound inequality. So what we're looking for is, what is the absolute value of x minus 3 that is greater than 5? So a couple things that we already know about absolute value. It's the distance away from 0. Well, since we don't know if x minus 3 is heading in the positive direction or the negative direction, we are going to go ahead and split that into both directions. So we're going to have x minus 3 is greater than 5. X minus 3 in the negative direction, so negative in parentheses x minus 3 is greater than 5. Now, there are a couple things we have to identify with these types of problems. When there's a greater than or equal to symbol, these are called our OR problems, where we're going to have one solution or the other happening. In this case, we have to put a big OR between them because our original one is greater than. So one way to remember it is greater. So that's how I remember it. It's greater. You can hear the or at the end almost if you say it with a quick accent. All right, once we have the problems, then you can go ahead and solve each one. But in this case, since it doesn't say to solve, just says to rewrite, we are actually done once we write our absolute value inequalities as a compound inequality. The OR must be there for it to be a compound. All right, let's look at the next problem. The next problem is less than or equal to. So one thing that we have to consider is with less than or equal to, we have to have an AND between these two problems. So once again, we know that since 1/3 x minus 7 could possibly go in the positive or negative direction, we have to split this into two parts. One part will say 1/3 x minus 7 is less than or equal to 51. The second part will say negative of 1/3 x minus 7, heading in the negative direction, is less than or equal to 51. So since this is a less than problem, we are going to have to put the word AND between them. Now here's how I remember this one. Less than. Okay, so less than is how I remember it. Just kind of a quick trick for me to say, okay, and must be between these two problems in order for me to be done. So this would be us rewriting these compound inequalities. Now in the next part, we're actually going to not only write these compound inequalities, but we're going to solve these inequalities and then graph the solutions. So this would be a complete set of problems that we would have to do. So first thing I'm going to do is I know that this will split into two equations. Once again, since I don't know if 3m plus 1 is headed in the positive or negative direction, I must consider both cases. So 3m plus 1 is greater than or equal to 16. 3m plus 1 in the negative direction is greater than or equal to 16. Now, I am going to circle this, and I know this is greater. Okay, so I see the OR there. So I'm going to put an OR right between those two problems. So that would be our way of setting up the compound inequalities for the absolute value inequality. We're going to go ahead and solve both problems like we would solve regular inequalities by subtracting 1 on both sides. You get 3m is greater than or equal to 15 divided by 3 on both sides. The inequality will not change because we're dividing by a positive value. It only changes if it's a negative value. So one part of our answer will be m is greater than or equal to 5. Now before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and drop this OR down here. The OR must be there or else it is incorrect. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and solve the second one. I am going to distribute this negative value. So I have negative 3m minus 1 is greater than or equal to 16. Add 1 on both sides. We get negative 3m is greater than or equal to 17. Divide by negative 3. Since I am dividing by a negative value, negative 3 in this case, must flip sign. So I'm just writing myself a note because this will be a rule that would have to be applied all the time. So m is going to be there, and then the sign is now going to go from greater than or equal to less than or equal to negative 17 thirds. So that would be our final answer. They did want us to graph these solutions on a number line, so I'm going to go ahead and create a number line. I like to always put my 0. M is greater than or equal to 5, so I'm going to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's 5. Now, if it's greater than or equal to, we know that it's a closed circle because 5 is actually part of the solution. And anything greater than 5 is moving to the right of 5. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that section, or bold it in my case. So that's where the answer for that would be. Now I'm going to go to negative 17 thirds. So negative 17 thirds, well, 3 goes into 17 5 times with a remainder of 2. So it's between negative 5 and negative 6. So negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. So negative 17 thirds is somewhere here, closed circle, because once again it's less than or equal to, and anything less than negative 17 thirds will be smaller numbers, so we're going further into the negative zone. And that would be that section right there. So this would be a graphical representation of the solution that we have above. All right, let's go into the next problem. Just gonna draw a line there. All right, so once again, since we don't know if 1/4 w minus 5 is going in the positive or negative direction, we have to consider both. So I'm going to go ahead and write 1/4 w minus 5 is less than 4. But I'm also going to consider negative 1/4 w minus 5 is less than 4. Okay, so that's my way of making sure my two equations are represented. Here's one, here's the second equation. All right, let's consider the symbol we have. This is less than. Okay, with my accent there. So it's an and problem, so I have to write and between these two problems. So it's this answer and the other answer is what we're looking for. All right, so let's go ahead and solve these. First, we're going to add 5 to both sides. We get 1/4 w is less than 9. I'm going to go ahead and multiply by the reciprocal 4/1 on both sides. W is less than 36. Now, I don't want to forget the and, so I'm going to go ahead and drop this and right away. If I don't do it right away, I do tend to forget it, so please, if you are forgetful like me, go ahead and do it right away. I'm going to go ahead and distribute this negative to the 1/4 w and the negative 5. So we get negative 1/4 w, positive 5 is less than 4. We're going to subtract the 5 on both sides. We get negative 1/4 w is less than negative 1. Multiply by the reciprocal. Let me just change colors here a little bit. So multiply by negative 4/1. Negative 4/1. And w is, now I must flip the sign because I just multiply by a negative value. So I get positive 4. Negative 1 times negative 4 is positive 4. So this is my other solution. So I'm going to go ahead and just write flip sign because we once again multiply by a negative number. So it seems like when we divide and multiply, the rule applies. So right here I'm going to say multiply by negative 4, flip sign. So I like to write these little notes to myself so I know that that's what just happened. Okay. So once again, once we do all of that, we're going to go ahead and graph these inequalities. So I'm going to go ahead and create a number line. Here's my 0. The first one will be all the way at positive 36. So I'm just going to make a really long line and just do 36 here. And since it's less than 36, now that means that 36 is not part of the answer, so it's an open circle. And anything less than will go in the left direction towards numbers that are smaller than what we're looking for. And then it keeps going. All right, now let's go ahead and do the same thing for W is greater than 4. Well, I'm going to go to 4. So let's say 4 is right there. Once again, 4 is not part of the answer, so it's an open circle. And anything greater than 4 would actually move towards the right of the number line, passing 36 and so on. So then the question becomes, well, where's the answer? The answer is where those two colors kind of meet, where the black shading area and the blue shading area meet. So I'm going to go ahead and just kind of show you. Here is open circle 4. Here's open circle 36. The final answer is right between 4 and 36. So this would be our final. Okay, so this is it. Now some of you have different shortcuts, which is fine as long as it's very obvious to us that that's a solution area. You are okay to do whatever you need to, just kind of make sure you represent or communicate it correctly. Okay? Well, great job. That's all the time that we have and everything that we had to cover. You did an excellent job. Can't wait to see you in class and do more of these problems. Have a great day.